This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it's 7:01, so I'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask for any additions to the agenda. Hearing none, I'll ask for an approval of the agenda.
I move the approval of the agenda.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. So item number 4 is presentations, and we have one presentation tonight. Paul McLean is here from Bearhead Energy. Paul, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been a while since I've been in to visit with council to give an update on Bearhead. So I really appreciate the opportunity this evening to join you. We're very excited about the change from Bearhead LNG to the Bearhead Green Energy Project and the development of the green hydrogen and green ammonia production, storage and transshipment facility, or shipment facility. I'll run you quickly through an introduction of the Bearhead team, as well as our new owners, Buckeye Partners and IFM. Run you through a bit of a Bearhead project update and a little bit on the power strategy to close off. I think I know everybody in this room, but I'm the Chief Operating Officer and the Canada Country Manager for Bearhead Energy. I'm joined on the executive at Bearhead by John Godbold, who's the President and CEO, and Nick Baker, who's the Chief Financial Officer. But Nick actually wears two hats, and that he's our CFO, but he's also a Senior VP of Mergers and Acquisitions with Buckeye Partners. So combined, we have about 30 years of development of the Bearhead project. We've also expanded our team. John Blake has joined us as the Senior VP of Business Development and Government Relations. Darcy Jane, who you may remember from the Bearhead LNG Export Project, who was the project director, has rejoined the team as the project director for the Green Hydrogen Project. Ghislaine Petrie is our operations manager based in Halifax, and Dean Hart is our site manager, who also does quite a bit of regulatory work for us, and Dean, of course, is located here in Port Hawkesbury. We intend to also open an office here in town in the very near future. We're just trying to scope out sites as we speak. A lot of you are very familiar with Bearhead as a project that may not be familiar with Buckeye Partners or IFM. Buckeye Partners was a master limited partnership that traded on the New York Stock Exchange. But it's been in operation for 135 plus years. It is a descendant company of the Standard Oil company that was founded by the Rockefeller family. They are one of the largest terminal operations companies in the US. They operate about 135 different oil and gas terminals. They also operate about 5,550 miles of pipelines in the United States, but they're increasingly diversifying their platform to advance energy transition initiatives and decarbonization efforts. Bearhead is really going to be the cornerstone in the push to decarbonize their assets over time. IFM is the owner of Buckeye. They took Buckeye private in 2019, but IFM is an Australian pension fund that manages about $180 billion in assets. So together, the expertise and the strategic value that they bring to Bearhead really is a unique combination that will enhance the viability of Bearhead over time and certainly provide the necessary capital to push forward with the project. So initially, as many in this room would know, Bearhead was developed as an LNG import facility under a company called Access Northeast Energy. We founded that company back in 2002 and held the project from 2002 to 2004. We received all the regulatory permits for an LNG import facility at that time, but really realized that we're a very small company, and to push the project forward, we needed a large player that had significant presence in the oil and gas game. And we sold the project to Anadarko Petroleum in 2004 after we'd received all the regulatory approvals for LNG import. Anadarko invested more than $150 million in the project site and spent the money on engineering, development of site construction, including roads, drainage, site leveling, and pouring of LNG tank foundations, as you can very easily see in the picture to the left. But really developed the on-site infrastructure at Bearhead that's made it very much a shovel-ready type project for the development of this phase of the project. In 2014, the project was acquired by LNG Limited, and they raised approximately $40 million in acquisition and development costs. The Bearhead LNG and the interconnecting pipeline, Bear-Paw pipeline, were fully permitted for LNG exports and natural gas transportation, respectively. So all of this history has really created the value for Buckeye and IFM to come in and laid the foundation for us to push forward with the green hydrogen project. The current Bearhead executive team bought the project back. Myself and my partner, John Godbold, we acquired the project on April 1st of 2021 and immediately determined to move away from fossil fuels at Bearhead and really to join the fight against climate change and developing a really carbon neutral project here in the Strait of Canso region. So we're now backed by Buckeye, and the critical Bearhead development team has really been brought back together to complete Bearhead's development and really to advance the construction and operation of the project. And that's really consistent with the model that IFM and Buckeye have. They're not asset flippers. When they make a commitment to invest in a community, they're in for the long haul, and they intend to develop a hydrogen hub here in the project and really be in development and construction for the next 10 years. I don't think I have to sell this room on the attributes of the site location. We're located in Richmond County in the Point Upper Industrial Park. We all know that the Strait of Canso provides ice-free, deep, and protected harbor with direct access to the North Atlantic and economic shifting distances to both European and Asian markets. There's already abundant wind, tidal, and hydropower in close proximity to the Bearhead site. And there's also regional underground opportunities for the development of energy storage, whether it's direct storage of hydrogen or ammonia or compressed air through salt cavern storage development. And Cyril Gillis would probably laugh at me doing a presentation on any form of chemistry, given my marks in grade 11 chemistry, but hydrogen is one of the most abundant elements in the universe and doesn't emit any carbon or other greenhouse gases when combusted, and that's what makes it as green friendly as it is. Because of that attribute, hydrogen is widely viewed as the best way to decarbonize many of the hard to abate industries, and it's expected to become a key pillar of global decarbonization efforts. And I think the activity that we've seen in the Strait area since we bought the project back in April of 2021 is probably evidence of the shift that's really happening in companies that really want to move away from fossil fuels and embrace the development of green hydrogen and green ammonia as fuels that will help those decarbonization efforts. Green hydrogen is produced by sourcing electricity from renewable sources such as wind, hydro, or tidal. The molecules are split into hydrogen and oxygen using electrolyzers, and it's really a CO2 emission-free process. Hydrogen is difficult to transport and store due to its low energy density, so it's often combined with nitrogen through a process for withdrawing the air to safely produce green ammonia. Hydrogen and ammonia are industrial materials that are commonly produced and stored in a safe manner. In fact, almost every rink in Canada has some form of ammonia loop to provide the chilling for their ice surfaces. In addition to its use in fertilizer, green ammonia can be used to create electricity and heat, or as a transportation fuel. And likely for the initial phase of development at Bearhead, probably 90% of the hydrogen will be converted to green ammonia, put on tankers, and shipped abroad. And we're spending quite a bit of time in Europe as we speak, and we've been focused on marketing in Europe for the last year or so. to establish offtake with European markets. So really a summary of the previous slide. You utilize renewable power, whether it's hydro, wind, or tidal. You put water through an electrolyzer process, and the hydrogen and oxygen are split. Hydrogen can be compressed or stored, and you can use it domestically for blending with natural gas or using it as a fuel itself. But really, we intend to ship it abroad in the form of ammonia. So in order to do that, as you can see from the lower side part of the slide, through a cryogenic air separation unit, you withdraw the nitrogen from the air. You catalytically combine hydrogen and nitrogen, and it produces a liquid anhydrous ammonia, which can be stored as a liquid. And then with that density, you can put it on the tankers and you can ship it abroad to the markets that you're looking for. Long term, we're also working on trying to develop an Atlantic Canadian hydrogen economy, because obviously we have an interest not only in selling the hydrogen as locally as possible, but we would also like to see Bearhead supporting Atlantic Canadian decarbonization efforts as well. In terms of size, we've filed a project description with the province of Nova Scotia for 2 gigawatts of eventual electrolyzer capacity. From that, Bearhead will produce approximately 2 million tons per year of green ammonia once the 2 gigawatt phases are all complete. There's potential to increase the total project size if we acquire additional lands around or about Bearhead. Just to give you an idea of perspective, 2 gigawatts of electricity is roughly 40% of Nova Scotia's current grid capacity. So it's a pretty significant amount of power. And we are in the process of developing those renewable assets, working with partners, and we're also working through a process to try and develop some of that renewable energy on our own. To give you an idea of scale, for the 2 million tons, it represents less than 1% of the current gray ammonia market. It's less than 3% of the market for green ammonia as a fertilizer in 2050. And it's less than 1% of the market for green ammonia as a fuel source as of today. So there's tremendous potential for Bearhead, not only to build out to that 2 gigawatt phase, but also to expand beyond the ring fence presently to expand the facility for the long term. As far as the clean fuel opportunity is concerned, we aim to be the fastest to permit the lowest cost and best located green hydrogen production facility in North America. Bearhead Energy's facility is fully owned by the corporation. It sits on a 250 acre site, 250 acres of land, plus we have a 68 acre water lot as well. There's already been investment of greater than 150 million, including the development of the engineering, permitting, and construction, which has already been spent. We're fully permitted as an LNG export facility, and we'll be filing Class 1 project registration document for the green fuel production within a matter of weeks. And as said earlier, we're in close proximity to European and other global customers who are really looking for alternatives to oil and gas for energy sources. So we have the regulatory approvals in place for LNG export and a strong foundation to convert to green fuel production, a saving time and significant cost. There's already significant construction on the Bearhead site. Nova Scotia is a great location for future wind power development. Our marine berth and material offloading facility is fully engineered and it's been approved by all levels of government. And we don't intend to change any of the current design on what's previously been approved, which we think will also expedite the permitting process. Again, close proximity to European customers. We're very keen on the transition to green fuels. We believe that we can repurpose one of the LNG tank foundations at site for the storage of green ammonia, which again, I think will save us quite a bit of time in terms of construction. And we have access to abundant local industrial water reservoirs, which is very important. The fact that I can really appreciate, after trying to bring natural gas from Western Canada to Nova Scotia for many years, it's nice to have all my feedstock in the backyard at Bearhead through the Landry Lake water supply. Of course, for Bearhead and for any company that's doing business in Nova Scotia, it's very important to follow a First Nations consultation process. We have a mutual benefits agreement that's been signed by the Assembly of Nova Scotia and Mi'kmaq Chiefs. The commitment ensures First Nation participation in the project and support for adequate training and capacity building. That benefits agreement was focused on the LNG project, and we're now in the process of amending that agreement, updating the MOU with the Assembly to reflect the shift from fossil fuels to green energy. Many of you may also know that the first contract that we let at Bearhead was for site security and safety with First Alliance Securities, which is a Mi'kmaq-owned security service. We also have signed and negotiated with the Cape Breton Building and Construction Trades Council the first project development agreement on Cape Breton Island. That will assure us access to skilled labor, and it also includes a no strike, no walkout clause in the agreement. So very important from an investor perspective that we have labor stability over the construction phase of the project. Again, that agreement was focused on the LNG export opportunity, and we're currently working with the Cape Breton Building Trades, the province of Nova Scotia, as well as the contractors, Nova Scotia Contractors Association, to amend that agreement to reflect the shift in focus from fossil fuels to green energy. I think my team is tired of me talking about my three circles of renewable energy, but if you talk about developing renewable power in Nova Scotia in terms of stages for projects such as ours, I think it gives the impression that you complete one phase and then you move on to the next and so on. But all three elements of the power strategy have to be executed simultaneously. So we're working with Nova Scotia Power to develop as large a renewable power portfolio from existing renewables with Nova Scotia Power, as well as some of the renewables that are coming into operation as we speak. And we think that will be around the 250 megawatt range. But we're also pushing forward with onshore wind development. And we're working with the provincial government presently to acquire crown lands that would allow us to move forward with a very robust onshore wind portfolio. And we're also working with Nova Scotia companies that are already operating in the space to obtain the portfolio of electrons that we need to push forward with the initial phase of the development. But really long-term for Bearhead, and I think for the Strait of Canso region generally, what we really need to see is the development of a significant offshore wind play. And you have to tip your hat to the Strait Area Task Force and the work that they've done to work with the provincial and federal government as far as pushing the mandate for regulatory change for offshore wind for Nova Scotia. And we were very encouraged by the announcement by Premier Houston a couple of weeks ago about the 5 gigawatts of offshore wind production that they hope to have in the water. And I think some of that would definitely tie back to the work of the task force here, as well as Marine Renewable Canada and others. I don't think you can give a project update on Bearhead without talking just a little bit about schedule. As I said, we're currently developing a project registration document for submission to the province of Nova Scotia for environmental assessment. But really this lays out the key building blocks that we see have to be completed. Your front-end engineering and design, your project concept definition, your project financing requirements, your offtake agreement negotiations. But ultimately, we see making a final investment decision on Bearhead in 2024, as we've got a clear line of sight on these project elements. With the construction schedule that our engineering guys have provided, we expect to be in construction for a 30-month period, which would put us in operation in the first quarter of 2027. And given the complexity of these types of projects, that's a schedule we feel very, very comfortable with. In terms of what we see initially as local economic impacts to be estimated, we believe that the impact of Bearhead will extend well beyond the project itself, and we really view Bearhead and the development of green fuels as a cornerstone piece of infrastructure that we believe will attract other industries to the Strait area to take advantage of the hydrogen production. And we have been working with Invest in Canada, Nova Scotia Business Inc. and others to try and identify opportunities to bring other projects to the Strait of Canso region. We've also engaged a consultant to estimate the direct and indirect economic multiplier effect for the Strait area for Nova Scotia and for Atlantic Canada. But beyond the jobs created in Cape Breton during construction and operation, we anticipate that the impact will extend to Nova Scotia as well as to Atlantic Canada. Some of the incremental impact we foresee would be wind turbine manufacture, installation, and maintenance, which would create long-term jobs. There's obviously the offshore turbine logistics support, and I think that the Strait of Canso region can play a significant role in that aspect of the offshore project. As I was saying, it's a catalyst for neighboring clean energy developments, including manufacturing facilities for green steel, hydrogen blending with natural gas, and green fertilizer opportunities as well. And then extending beyond the project itself will be some of the joint venture opportunities that we want to pursue with First Nations communities, such as Wakaba, Politak, Member 2. So we see this as a significant driver, not only of economic development in Port Hawkesbury itself, but I think it should also have broader impact on the Strait of Canso region. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I'll thank you for the presentation. It's pretty informative. There's a lot of information there, obviously, but it's nice to see that you're moving forward, and looks like you got some momentum going with you. I'll open up to council for questions.
Yes, your worship. Through you. Sure. Thank you for the presentation, Paul. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You say you're going to be in production, was it 2027?
That's the goal, yeah.
That's your goal. How many employees do you see on site?
Presently, for the construction phase, it would be an absolute estimate. We've hired the consultant now to do calculation of not only the construction jobs, the operational jobs, as well as the sort of spin-off and indirect jobs that will be created as part of the project. But
right.
For construction, I think we'd be looking at about 600 jobs on average over the 30-month period. Once we go into operation, I think we'd be in about the 75-person category for the operations phase.
75.
So that'll be confirmed as we work with the consultant to finalize their report.
And I guess with the 75 for the operations, would there be training needed for them?
I'm really glad you asked me that question. Being from Port Hawkesbury, I really want to see the project develop and I want to see it push forward. But obviously my goal would be to have as many people from the Strait area working on site as possible. To that end, we've been working with the Nova Scotia Community College to put an MOU in place to establish whatever specialized training programs may be required, so that people from the area can be trained up in whatever capacities are required, not only for the construction phase of the project, but also for the operations phase. So I think we really have to put those tools in place to allow the Strait area to benefit to the maximum from the development of the project. So we're, I think, pretty close on completing that agreement with the community college. It differs slightly from the one that we put in place with the LNG export opportunity, in that that was more of a broad MOU with the community college system across the province. This one is specifically focused on the Strait campus in developing and supporting the programs at the Strait campus.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Councilor Doyle?
Not really a question, but comment, I guess. Thank you, Paul. Good to see you. I remember sitting over in conference room A, when you were East Coast Energy. Was East Coast Energy?
Access Northeast
Access
Energy.
North.
Yeah, I was a lot thinner and had a lot less gray hair back then.
Yeah, we both did. I guess my question now is going to be the same question I asked them when you're going to be situated in Richmond County. What's the, other than our spin-off for economically, but I mean, for our taxes, right, for our municipality in general, is there anything that can be done going forward that you can think of?
Yeah, well, the obvious one for me is, and you probably remember, that we wanted to have a commitment to the town of Port Hawkesbury, as we're recognizing the disparity between the residential tax base and the industrial tax base. And trust me, I've got a master's degree in that issue, sitting at my father's kitchen table for 50 plus years. But we made a commitment to this building. We had invested, I think, about $750,000 US in offsetting some of the operating costs for the Civic Center.
Yeah.
We intend to fulfill the balance of that commitment once we go into commercial operation. But Bearhead obviously recognizes that we need to support opportunities and activities right across the street at Canso. So
Sure.
We're very open to discussing things beyond just the Civic Center commitment.
No, that's great. Thank you.
I did grow up in Philpott Street, right?
Oh, I know. I was in that, your house many times.
Councilor McCory?
Yeah, thanks, Paul, very much for coming tonight and making the presentation. And it just gives so much to be optimistic about and a positive attitude going forward that we're going to have this development. Well, you haven't necessarily committed to it yet. I think you say it's 2 more years before you eventually decide whether to proceed with the project. Am I correct? Did you say 2024?
Proceed with the construction project, which also is a good question that IFM and Buckeye have fully committed to all of the development costs for Bearhead through to FID, which, after operating the project for a year in partnership with John Godbold and American Express, is a game changer for us. And I think we have the development capital in place that will allow us to put all of those milestones in place that I put up on the slide earlier. These are very complex projects, but we've got probably the best team that I've worked with on the Bearhead project in the last 20 years. John and I, when we decided to partner with Buckeye Partners, I think we realized that there's a lot of money that's chasing this green space. And again, I think we've seen the evidence of that in the last year and a half here in the Strait area. But we made a decision that we didn't just want to bring capital into the project, but we wanted to bring strategic value along with it. And in working with with Buckeye Partners and with IFM, even over the negotiation period, it was really obvious to us that they had all of the strategic tools and values that to bring to the table to bring Bearhead to a successful conclusion. So we do talk about final investment decision, before you enter into your construction phase. But Buckeye is really bringing all of the tools to bear on the Bearhead project to enable that to happen. So we're trying to manage expectations somewhat in the community, but I don't think I've ever been as enthusiastic and excited about the prospects for Bearhead as I am today working with Buckeye and IFM.
To me, when I think about what's going on, the different companies that are looking to get involved with this green energy now, it harkens back to the early 1960s when the group of people came together and worked and lobbied to get the pulp mill established in Point Tupper, and what that did for this whole area, all the various counties around here, and these sort of developments are I'm confident going to have the same impact as well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of room for collaboration with the different proponents for the hydrogen project as well.
Right.
And I think that there is, given that we're all sort of working along the same goal to, ultimately we're all in business to fight climate change. Obviously, we want to, work the economics as well, but I think there's some solidarity and there's a lot of synergy between the proponents as well, not only for the hydrogen projects themselves, but also for the onshore wind and the offshore wind players. Everybody seems to be coalesced around a very similar goal. And I think it's a lot more collaborative than what I had experienced in either phase of the LNG import or export project. So, long-term, very, to your point, I'd love to see the development of 2 or more green hydrogen projects in the Strait area and see the impact that would have on the communities. And I think that that's a very real and I think can be a tangible goal for the Strait of Canso region.
Could I ask if you would share your PowerPoint presentation with council?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I didn't want to punish it with the other 15 slides that were in the appendix, but
Sure.
if you have questions on those as well, my email, well, you got my email, but my email is in the deck, and please feel free to contact me anytime with any questions. And we've been, in the vein of trying to manage expectations in the community, we've been somewhat quiet, I think, over the last year and a half, because we have a very well-defined project development plan, and we've been quietly executing on that plan. We've been very fortunate to work with the Landry Lake Water Utility staff, Terry and Aaron and Jason. Their help in developing the water supply strategy for Bearhead was really invaluable for us, and I think was one of the elements that attracted Buckeye to invest. It demonstrated the support from the municipality. It demonstrated the support in providing the water supply. So I just wanted to thank council, and I wanted to thank Terry, Aaron, Jason, and the town of Port Hawkesbury team for their support in helping us work through the water infrastructure aspect of our project.
Yeah. All right, Paul, again, thank you for the presentation. Everything that I was going to ask has already been asked. Again, yeah, thank you. And is there, coming here tonight, was there anything you were looking for from council?
No, I really just wanted to, I felt that we were overdue in terms of providing an update to council, and wanted to make sure that you're aware of the status of the project, that you're also aware of the work that we're doing as far as our filings for our environmental assessment. But it was really just to provide an update and to let you know exactly what the status of the project is.
It's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Could we have a 5-minute recess?
5-minute recess. Sure.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick 5 to 8 minute recess. Do we need a motion for that?
Yep, move to take a recess.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Motion
It's
made.
5 o'clock.
One US, please. It's in the edge, yeah, here. And
They need to do study
Why don't we do some sort of
area.
Okay, I think we're all back now.
Good.
So we'll call the meeting back to order. And we'll go on to item number 5, council reports, unassigned committees. The mayor has emailed her report to us.
Yes.
I just have a couple. On September 22nd, Councilor McIver and I met with Eastern District Planning Commission. October 11th, Mayor and Councilor McCrory, and I believe Councilor McDougall was there for part of it, met with New Dawn, the housing pilot. On October 12th, Councilor McDougall and I met with Parks and Recreation, Active Living. And on October 12th, I met with the Housing Coalition. That's my report. Councilor McDougall.
No, some of the ones I had there, the housing pilot, the Parks and Rec, we did meet, and we had our October 11th, the audit committee met, and we had the presentation tonight, and we approved it. And I don't know if we had this report or not. September 13th, Landry Lake, and September 13th, we met with the police commission. But I don't know if we reported on that one last week or not. And the housing pilot on the 11th, and the Parks and Rec on the 12th.
Councilor McCrory.
Deputy Mayor, yes, just saying the housing pilot on October 11th.
Councilor McIver.
They were all mentioned, Worship.
And we're good to go. We'll move on to the CAO reports. Terry?
Yeah, so I'd like to call up facilities operations and Parks Gordy's going to give a short presentation.
So, have to follow the policy, it won't be as exciting, but equally important. So, thank you, Terry, through your deputy mayor. I'll start with the Civic Center. Hockey is going on as normal, and gym's operational. It's not in the report, but it's just something I like to add. We are fairly busy with their room rentals and such. So we just hosted Celtic Colors after a couple of years COVID absence. So we're happy to have that event back in our building, and we had a really nice closing show Saturday night. I think anybody that attended it would agree that it was. It's nice to have that type of event back in the building. It certainly showcases what we offer here. It was really busy turnover. We turned the ice over to what you see there and for a concert venue in a matter of a short time, and then back to hockey in another short time. So I'd like to, just to compliment and commend the staff that we have and even the extra hired staff that we bring on for events like this. It's a lot of hard work in a short time, and they should be noted for. The other thing is the Zamboni. It's still scheduled to arrive by the middle of next month, so we're looking forward to that. We have a couple of options on our old one. We have some interest from a facility in HRM. We have a trade option, which is not very attractive at all. And I have contacted some local arenas within the Quad counties to see if somebody may be in the market for a machine that's in good as a shape as ours. That if we're only going to get a certain value for it from somebody from I would say a facility not as close to the ones we deal with daily, they may show an interest, and we could help them out that way. So there's still a value to come in for it. It's still worth a bit. So fields and parks. Fields and parks. Baseball and soccer, high school are still ongoing, so they're using the fields a little bit. Our maintenance program will start on the fields once that's done, once the high school programs are completed. So they'll be aerated, overseeded, and fall fertilized. Splash pad and the playgrounds are closed for the season now, and they will be winterized over the next couple of weeks. Tennis courts is really weather dependent on their closing date, so there's still some nice days and evenings that people can get out and play in the multi-courts and the tennis courts. So I think even some of the pickleball is being played outside with the nice weather that we're having in the fall. So we'll let that go as long as we can. There's no definitive date on on the closing of the tennis courts. Food bank, the project was started on October 3rd. It's moving along per schedule. We do have some additional geotechnical work that has to be carried out in the next couple of weeks. There's a couple of additional boreholes that we have to go through the process of having them tested and sent away for analysis to complete our environmental file, allowing us to fully, close that file after almost 20 years of it sitting dormant and being there. So we have to go through that process, and we'll continue to work forward through the renovations on food bank. So to date, the addition is closed in. The front veranda is on. Most of the siding is ripped off. I would assume that the overhang would be on next week or by the end of this week, and then they'll move on to roofing and windows and siding. And the doors will be a couple more weeks. And yeah, siding's a couple of weeks out, so that's all in order. The electric vehicle charging stations, we're ready to go with the install. We're just waiting on shipping and having those charging stations arrive on site. It's just a matter of the supply chain, as I noted, and delays in shipping. So they are en route. We just don't have them yet to be installed. But once they arrive, it'll probably be a quicker hookup and install and testing and commissioning for those two charging stations. And they're just in the parking lot across from our main parking lot there. Accessibility. With the additions, other than the additions of what we're going to do for accessibility at the food bank, our committee met on October 3rd. We reviewed our municipal plan after having a couple of months off for the summer, reassessed our accessibility goals, and looked at what we've done that's been successful and what we plan to do in the future. So we've got some good projects. The committee has some good projects on the docket, and we'll be keeping council and the mayor updated on those as they happen. So that's my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, just a couple of comments. Gord, weekend before last, we got a call late on a Saturday morning from St. Yves, looking to use our ball field, which was a little bit wet.
Yeah.
Just want to commend the staff that come over and you and Terry for allowing them to come over to get the field ready. They did the best job they could in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And I was over to the high school game the other day, and the field looked maybe the best it looked all year. It looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So just kudos to Robert.
Yeah, and that was, I don't know if they go by AUS ball or not, but that was university ball.
Absolutely.
Ran into a snag with their field and air conditioning. They came here to see if they could use ours I think it was St. Yves and Acadia had a game. So it was nice to highlight and be able to host them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, just, all the staff has been doing a fantastic job. So just a compliment on that.
Thank you.
I was gonna say the same thing. I went over to that game and I was very impressed with the field, and Jason should take a lot of the credit himself, the deputy mayor, because he did a lot of the work. I got in touch with him, and he got in touch with Terry, and Terry got in touch with yourself and Robert, and it was an excellent. I've been involved with ball here since 30 years. I coached you when you were a kid, so
just a couple of years
ago. But I mean, that was fantastic to see that happen. So Katie and St. Yves playing over there that day.
Yeah.
And for the town to do that, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And staff.
Councilor Porter?
No questions.
Councilor McIver?
Yes, Worship, through you, maybe a brief update on the waterfront. I see construction started there.
Sure, and I think Jason may be better to update that project, but it is underway. We've got some things in line for, I would say that we've got some things in line now for Sunset Park development and benches and chairs that have been outstanding. I can comment on that. But as for the waterfront, I think I'll let Jay comment on that. He'll probably be more able to give you the details than I would. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gord.
Thanks, Gord.
Thank you.
Michelle's online, and she's got to unmute herself, but when she does that. Here you go.
Hello, everyone. Through you, Deputy Mayor O'Coin. Good evening. I'm going to start my report tonight, like I always do, just to mention the trails. The trails suffered some washouts following the hurricane, so a bridge on the Maple Trail was compromised, but it's already been repaired, and I believe it was repaired within the week by the trail volunteers. So I just wanted to throw out a massive shout out and thank you to the volunteers who worked tirelessly, keeping the trails safe and for everyone's enjoyment. As far as recreation programming, fall programming is in full swing. For the recreation department, we've got music classes, yoga, basketball, paint nights, Tai Chi, and a variety of wellness programs happening through the fall session. And the planning has already begun for the New Year's children's events. And I put a save the date in there for the Christmas parade. It'll be happening on December 4th. So we've already started doing some planning for that. As far as the straight area pool, we had a couple of mechanical issues over the last couple of weeks. We had one filter bust open, and then just a couple of days later, the other filter also. So the folks over at Superport Marine were just amazing and came right over and sealed up those cracks for us. So that resulted in just putting swimming lessons by 1 week ahead. So we still have time to finish the full session, as well as some short, just 1 to 2 day closures each of those times. So we're back up and running in full swing as far as that goes. Our pool programming is completely full. We actually added 5 additional swim lessons so that we could eliminate our wait list, and we even included some teen and adult classes as well. So that's really exciting, and it just speaks to the demand that people have for swimming lessons. The Learn to Swim partnership with the Autism Society is currently happening. We've got 2 different time slots going. One of them is completely full, and the other one is almost full. So always very grateful for that partnership and for many other programs with the Autism Society. Just like to echo what Gordy mentioned earlier and commend all the staff in executing not 1, but 2 really fantastic shows during this season of Celtic Colors. It was just really amazing. It was my first time just seeing how it all comes together and seeing how many hands and how many people it takes to make something like that happen successfully. So just really want to thank everybody who was involved and commend all the staff and volunteers involved. A couple of upcoming shows. We have Gunning and Cormier Christmas, and 'Tis the Season is back December 10th. And of course, Red Tribe Boxing back in the new year. Grants and sponsorship. I'm just going to mention a couple of sort of more mentionable ones. We were successful in getting a Canada Arts Presentation Fund grant through Canadian Culture and Heritage, and that is for digital marketing and website development for the Civic Centre specifically as an arts and cultural presentation venue. So in the amount of $20,000. So really exciting to see that some further development is going to be coming to update our website and make the Civic Centre a more marketable space for events and cultural presentations. Also mentionable, a bid to host some of the IHF World Juniors pre-competition training. So that is sometime between December 18th and 24th. I do expect, I followed up twice, but most recently this morning, and they've given me a ballpark of next week where we should get a decision on that. And also in progress is I applied for a grant through Digital Nova Scotia, and it's a $15,000 value to assist with website development, social media, and photography for the town website. So fingers crossed that hopefully we'll get that one as well. And marketing and media, our total page likes social media went from 3,962 to 4,037. And that is my report.
Thank you, Michelle. I do have a question on the
Sure.
IHF Do we know if we're successful, how many hours of ice they would be looking for?
Yes,
And are
I
we
do
able
not have
to,
that right in front of me though.
that's fine, are we able to work that out with minor hockey without too much interruption there?
Well, yes, it happened to be during the Christmas break, so I think it might work out perfectly actually. But and of course, I can get back to you on the exact number of hours. I can follow up with you tomorrow on that.
Oh, that's fine. And again, to all your staff, Celtic Colors doesn't happen without your staff and Gordy's staff and all the town really. And from what I hear, it was very successful. And I look forward to the Christmas parade.
Thank you. Me too.
No questions. Thank you for your report, Michelle. Very, very well, John.
Councilor McIver, or McQuarrie?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Michelle, for your report. Obviously, there's a lot on the go, and you've been very proactive in seeking out financial support for various programs, and it's positive to see that you've met with a fair bit of success. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. I have no questions. Thank you, Michelle, for the report. Very well done.
Thanks again, Michelle.
Thank you.
Ask Aaron to speak to finance issues.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Worship. There was a consultation the province had put on around the marketing levy. I know council had a session with Terry Smith around the marketing levy and some changes forthcoming. So just based on what I understand from the consultation that happened, we currently have the legislation enabling us to levy a marketing levy. We've been doing that for a number of years. And so this is creating that legislation within the MGA, so all municipalities are able to levy a marketing levy in order to encourage tourism to their areas. So, all of Cape Breton Island right now has the Cape Breton Island Marketing Levy Act. And so now that kind of legislation will be part of the MGA. It's a little bit different than what we have. But based on what I understand, the MGA will have minimum standards or minimum requirements for a marketing levy bylaw. And our current bylaw already meets those minimum requirements. We will have to go through a process to update our current bylaw to show the appropriate legislation that enables that bylaw. And in turn, I think we should also look at whether we want to make any changes to our bylaw and to our minimum requirements for those accommodation providers that are part of it. Right now, our bylaw is that accommodation providers who have 10 or more rooms are required to register with us and remit the levy. I think the recommendation from Destination Cape Breton is that all accommodation providers, and that is part of the legislation, and we would be able to include that as part of our bylaw. So as that legislation changes and becomes enacted, we can we'll have a year time period to review our own bylaw, update it, and we can make those decisions on including additional accommodation providers. Audit committee meeting, we had that on October 11th with the audit committee to review the results of the audit. And at the special public meeting earlier this evening, our financial statements were approved, so that is good. Clean audit report, important to note. Mandatory provincial reporting has all been submitted with the exception of our financial statements. So following our approval of those this evening, that will be submitted to the province. So all of our mandatory reporting will be up to date. Just something I wanted to bring to your attention. I know we've been talking about our migration of our Microsoft Office suite of products, including our email. With our IT shared IT project with the other 4 municipalities. Part of that is migrating to Office 365. For us, that's going to occur, or set to occur over the weekend of October 22nd, which is this weekend. So the IT staff of the Straight IT Municipal Group will be sending out some correspondence to us all to just kind of give us an update on what will happen. Your email likely won't work over the weekend. You will still be able to get those emails likely on Monday, but there will be a bit of a down period for your emails over the weekend. So just a heads up on that. They will also be here on Monday and Tuesday of next week. This is a whole new system on a different server than what we have right now. So they'll be on site to help with integrating that new system into your phones and your iPads and whatnot. So please come on to the office. They'll be available to help and get everybody set up and running and deal with any glitches at that point in time. So yeah, I'll follow up with David just on the communication of that piece, just to know what to expect over the weekend. Just a quick note on Canoe Procurement. It's a entity that I'm hearing a little bit about through the last few months. So it's a not-for-profit procurement entity. They collaboratively procure on behalf of Canadian municipalities, public sector, and not-for-profit entities. We already have a membership with Canoe. It's free. You don't have to use it. You can use it if you want to. So we're just exploring kind of what benefits there are with relation to that membership. Through procurement as it comes up. There's some fitness equipment that we're looking at purchasing that was in our capital plan that we're looking at what the pricing is through this membership. It's there's a lot of members, it seems, in the Western Canada, but it's kind of migrating here. No risk, no obligation. So we're going to kind of explore that as we move forward. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Again, we'll be mindful. It does comply with the Canadian Free Trade Agreement. Not specific to the Atlantic Procurement Agreement, but as we make procurement decisions, obviously, we'll ensure that we're in line with the Atlantic Procurement Agreement in any purchasing decision. So happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Just a comment. Thank you for your presentation. There's never really many questions left to the imagination.
Boring, yeah.
Councillor McIver?
Well, thank you for everything, Aaron. I guess for a good report coming to the province, that's the main thing. Well done.
Councillor McDougall?
No questions. Thanks, Aaron, for your report, and thanks for all the work you did on the audit committee amendment.
And Councillor McQuarrie?
So the procurement is for what type of items? You just mentioned fitness equipment, but
Zambonis,
because I thought this was
office supplies.
I thought we were procuring for canoes.
That's a really did I call it canoe procurement? No, it's small, like office supplies to large, even gravels, even cleaning supplies, that sort of thing. It's a wide range of negotiation that's happened for many different suppliers. There's probably a list of 300 on their website.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of runs the full gamut. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Just a comment on Canoe Procurement. They were at the NSFM last spring and they did a presentation. It was pretty good. Terry?
And and Jason's gonna finish off the presentations.
Sure. So, it's been a while since we were doing this face to face. It's great. To kick things off, as usual, traffic sign report. Lately, the traffic sign was located on Pine Ridge. And very typical data, we've not seen any drastic information of excessive speeding in that part of town. We've moved the sign to Granville Street, adjacent to the Sunset Park area. We're seeing lots of people using that parking lot recently, and thought it would be a good idea to try to take some traffic calming measures there for people going in and out of that parking space. Funding applications, ICIP water system upgrades. So we're still awaiting an official response on this application. So this is the body of work that would encompass replacement of the Pitt Street water tower, new valve and altitude valve buildings, district metering, all that stuff that you've heard over and over again. We've recently responded to some information requests from municipal affairs, and that information was turned around very quickly and sent back to them. So we've been told that our responses would be sent to the federal government quite quickly, and we're still awaiting an official response. Project updates, Macquarie Drive Extension AT project. Well, this project is essentially complete. I think we have a bench to install at some point. The Public Works have taken on a significant amount of work with this project. So Weeks Construction did a phenomenal job with the buried utilities and actually constructing the meat and potatoes of all the project areas. But hats off to the Public Works guys for taking on a lot of extra sidewalk installation work and landscaping work and really, several weeks of time taken away from other areas other tasks that we would have liked to have completed in other areas of town. But this was, we're extremely happy with the outcome, and the grass is just jumping out of the ground really, really well. I think people are happy. 2002 capital paving projects, so all remaining driveway reinstatements that weren't complete due to the downtime of ocean paving, given our last update, those have been completed. So that project is fulfilled. System assessment reports. So CBCL is still working through the process of completing our mandatory system assessment reports that have to be submitted to the Department of Environment. We have lots of time for this to be completed. I think we can. The deadline is the end of March, so CBCL is well underway, and we're not expecting any issues with this body of work. Water Street Boardwalk AT project. So this project has also been awarded to Ocean Paving, and the pricing received was within budget estimates. Ocean began the work yesterday, which is wonderful to see. I know that contractors has had some challenges, and have recently caught up on a lot of the outstanding work that was on their docket for essentially losing a month of asphalt install time during the prime time of year. So kudos to them. So hopefully we can see some steady progress. So the down there today, the sections of the boardwalk have been removed. Some of the smaller armor stone has started to be switched over to bolster the armor stone on the ocean side embankment, which is great. And I believe everybody's aware that this project does involve an asphalt overlay of Water Street as well, accessible parking stalls at specific locations at the waterfront, which is a wonderful addition. The paved AT trail with a timber knee rail feature, which is going to be wonderful for safety as well, to limit people being able to kind of roll off over the bank into the water. And we're also incorporating landscaping features and streetscape appurtenances and new lighting. And we'll be looking at signage and banner poles and all that kind of good stuff in due time. Public Works highlights. So additional sidewalk replacement. We gave a pretty good update on an extensive amount of sidewalk replacement work that completed in-house this year in our last update. And since that, we've taken on another section on Granville Street. And what we wanted to show in these pictures is We're gradually improving the equipment that we have to work with. So what we're seeing here is a new set of composite curb forms that were purchased for staff this year. And what this does, it makes it a lot easier for those guys to form curb properly and have the measurements fit what our standard spec design standards are for municipal curb. And it goes together so much more efficiently, and it creates a much more nicer end product. So happy to report that the staff are pretty pleased with it. They like using it, and I think it's going to make their life easier and improves the overall quality of the work for us. We've just taken delivery on our ankle plow for our backhoe, our newly purchased backhoe. So it was wonderful to have the backhoe for the duration of our busy maintenance season this year. It's been an invaluable piece of equipment. And we did order this attachment with our original purchase. It's just that it was on back order. So we just took delivery of that well in advance of the winter control season. We recently completed an RFQ exercise for bulk street salt haulage. So the deadline for those RFQs were last week, and I'm still reviewing the results, and I'll be providing a recommendation to Terry with the depending on the results of those quotes. So we do have salt in our salt dome right now, but we intend to have the contractor in place well in advance of winter to make sure that our stockpiles are bolstered. And also, we recently completed an audit of all the streetlights in the town to look for malfunctioning lights. It's been not quite a year since we last did that, but it's important that we keep up on it. And happy to report that only 8 lights were found in the community, with hundreds and hundreds of lights, which is pretty good. And those lights have been sent into Nova Scotia Power with requests for repair. Nova Scotia Power typically take up to 30 days to complete the repairs of those. We're currently undergoing our fall hydrant flushing program right now. So the guys should be going to the shop in about 45 minutes to start tonight and work throughout the evening. And we also completed some required safety training as well. So we spent a couple of days recently undertaking confined space entrant attendant safety training as well as confined space rescue. And we completed some WIMS training that we had outstanding for some of our staff as well. An extensive activity summary was provided with the report as well for your review, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Again, no real questions, but Public Works crew are very visible through the town, and as you go through the town, you see them out all the time and the work they're doing. And the sidewalk work they've done this year is phenomenal. I know that's not necessarily their profession, but it looks like it is.
Yeah, they're really good at it.
Yeah.
They take pride in it.
They're doing a fantastic job, and the amount they've got done this summer it surprised me.
Yeah. I
really didn't think a small crew like that would be able to do all that work in the summer, so kudos to them and to you.
Thank you.
Councilor McDougall.
No questions. Thank you very much for the report, Jay.
Councilor McCory.
No, I just echo the Deputy Mayor's comments.
Councilor McIver.
No, I have no questions. Thank you, Jay. You're off the hook, Jay.
Thank you. So that's the end of the CAO reports.
Yes.
So we'll move on to other business. And the first one is committee recommendations, and I'll ask Councillor McDougall to speak on that.
Well. We met on October 12th, the mayor and Councilor McIver and myself, and we went over the committee structure for the upcoming 2 years. It's in your package, what we come up with. And some of the thought process that went into how we recommended these committees is, what we said is that if any committee member was either the chair or a vice chair of the committee, that they stay there in that position for the upcoming 2 years. Or if a member was part of the decision making, being an executive member of a group, for instance, Mark, I think, was in for the planning, it's on the bylaws, or is it the personnel, so we didn't want to change that. And the other, any placements that are a fixed term, like if it was a 2-year term or a 4-year term, these placements are exempt also. So we're going to meet with Terry sometime in November, and we're going to have that roundabout like we had before and pick our the remainder of the committees, the local committees and the regional committees. And if you have this paper here, it's got your town advisory committees, your elected member, and then we're going to go with the elected members alternate, and then we got our staff support person, who's the staff support on each committee. But there's a lot of holes in here, so we're going to go, like I say, we're going to go around and pick what positions, what holes we want to put, what committees we want to go on. The elected members who have the most reassignments will go first. It's Blaine, and then Jason, and then myself, and then Mark. And that is on here somewhere. It's in your package. So if there's any questions, if I can answer them, I will.
So I'll open it up to Councillor McCrory.
No, I have no questions.
And I have no questions either.
So Terry, I'm assuming we'll have a date set and we'll
Sure, Melissa will.
canvass council and see if it's a good date, some afternoon maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, maybe we can, if it's the wish of council, we can advertise for.
Oh, yes, so
Yes.
specifically the beautification, we didn't know if we wanted to do that one again because it's been kind of inactive over the last few years, but we really want to put that out there and see if we can get some people on that, but we'll also, that'll be on there, that's a new one, I guess, on there, yeah. And now the other ones also. Do you want to, okay, motion. Motions in this, no motions.
So moving on to seniors dinner, I'll pass it over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have a request, and I'll just read the request. After 2 long and isolating years, I'm writing to request support from the town of Roxbury for a community seniors dinner on December 18th, 2022. What I am envisioning is a collaboration of various community groups and volunteer organizations. I've reached out and received confirmation from Girl Guides of Canada, Rotary Club members, Straight Area Women's Place, and several community volunteers. The support I am asking from the town is an in-kind donation of the use of the Bearhead Room on December 18th. and the kitchen, December 17th and 18th. Please consider supporting our endeavor.
And that's from,
Thank you.
Lisa McHugh, thank you.
is this in, through you, your deputy mayor, or is this in conjunction with the mayor's one that she does?
So the mayor is not doing it,
She's not gonna do, okay.
so they're taking it over.
And their group is how much? They have a name or group, or it's just individual?
I think it was from an individual who's organized and consulted with community clubs and individual people as well to put this on.
No, I'm fine with it.
Anybody else have any other questions?
No questions.
The only question I would have is there anything going on that Rob McAleer would need that kitchen that weekend?
So we can, so this is committee of whole, if there's consensus, we'll bring this forward to the public meeting and we'll ensure that there's no conflicts through that period of time.
Okay.
No, it's good.
Okay, so I believe we have consensus on it.
I don't know, Michelle, come up there, did you want to say something? Come up. She will have information on it.
So we have no approved additions. In our future meetings, our next public meeting was scheduled for November 1st, I believe, and we've switched that to November 8th. And then the committee of whole will be November 15th. So I ask for a motion for adjournment.
So,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
for a second.
Are we, is that done? Are we reconvening or?
Later. We can meet in a minute,
Reconvening now.
Are we?